of communication in President William Ruto's office, or rather State House, former journalist Hussein Mohammed is really finding it hard in Twitter to respond to questions from Kenyans after he made this ridiculous tweet today. Look at this tweet. President, and I need to get it here for you. President William Ruto commits to increase the Hursler Fund loan limit tomorrow. I can challenge you to check that tweet. There is one question that people are asking there. The Hursler Fund is a government project that is funded by the taxpayer. The messaging there seems to insinuate that just the same way William Ruto does the other things, he's also seated somewhere to award loan limits. As in, the limit increase seems to be is at the discretion of President William Ruto. I checked that, it was very interesting. But then what do you think? Because as to what I understand, and this is something that even the concept bearers was saying, is that your limit will increase with your credit score. So the more you borrow and repay, just the same way the others normally operate, is how you're going to get your loan limit. Now, I want you to listen to this speech because people are really asking whether it is the true depiction of the situation.
Of those 18 million members, 15 million Kenyans have borrowed from the Hursler Fund, which is a really commendable number of Kenyans. Out of the 15 million Kenyans who have borrowed, 14.2 million are regularly servicing their borrowing. 800,000 of them have challenges because they have exceeded the time they were supposed to pay. But we are confident that because the time for them to pay have not lapsed, they will catch up with the other 14.2 million who are servicing their borrowing regularly. Today, we are announcing, because I made a commitment, that the Hursler Fund will provide two things. It will provide, number one, credit and a platform for people who cannot borrow from anywhere else to borrow from the Hursler Fund. I also promised, number two, that we will provide a savings component where as you borrow, you save. Of the 14 million Kenyans, 14.2, we have identified 6 million of them to increase their credit limit. So 6 million members of the Hursler Fund, from tomorrow, you can access more money. Some of you will access double what you have been accessing. Some of you will access another 80% of what you have been accessing.
Apart from the fact that Ruto seems to be saying, I promised limit itaongezeka, I think on terms of increasing the limit, it depends on the way I interacted with the fund. Now, I realized something, and that's why I feel like, apana. That data that Ruto is talking about is consistent with what Waziri Simon Chelugui shared in their Twitter, updating Kenyans about the fund. That was on 23rd January. This is what was shared at 7 a.m. Amount disbursed, 15 billion. Total repayment, 7 billion, nearly like 50%. Opted-in customers, 18 million. And savings, 700. That one. Now, in terms of opted-in customers, within the 10 days, the number still remains at 18 million. I'm telling you. I don't think that is the current data. However, this is what is really a contradiction. And I want us to look at that contradiction because it will show you that what is being represented there, the data is inconsistent. According to what our president is saying, 15 million Kenyans borrowed. And out of the 15 million, 18 million Kenyans repaid, or rather are repaying. And according to him, only 800,000 Kenyans have defaulted. You know, even if you are to calculate, inamaanisha if 15 million Kenyans wameboro, then only 14 million people are repaying, 14 million people have repaid, then 800,000 have failed. In terms of percentage, that means the repayment rate would go to around 90 or 80, which is unrealistic. Now, but on talking about the loan limit, out of the 14 million people that are repaying, only 6 million people are going to qualify for increasing the loan limit. You know what? And I was checking this. What does it mean? That there are 14 million people that borrowed, repaid, but out of the 14, only 6 are going to enjoy the increased rate. It only means that 8 million amongst the 14, where are they? Because the criteria of credit score increasing is paying and repaying. For example, if I took it once and repaid, if I am repaying, that is what will determine loan increase. So the difference is on how much or maybe how frequently I've been repaying. Maybe kama nimeboro mara mingi, then it's gonna decide on that's where my loan limit is going to depend on. I can look straight in the eye and tell you, and tell President Ruto this way: your data is inconsistent. The data they've been served in with is inconsistent. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and also like our video. Something is not adding up, and I want to talk about it this way. President Ruto, even through an act of parliament or from a legal aspect, with a legal backing, should commission an independent audit of this fund. Mark this analysis. In some time here to come, if that money or if that project is going to be audited by the Auditor General and getting an independent audit of how it is being run, President Ruto might be shocked to see that money was misappropriated in the guise of what Kenyans have borrowed and not paid. Because we also know that there is no punitive measures that have been put in place for those defaulters. There are no punitive. So, hakuna kitu wanaitishwa wale wenye hawajalipa. People can actually rather misrepresent this data, and maybe Ruto could be staring at a mega scandal. This will be a disaster if this comes out, because there are a lot of loose ends to this fund. You can still say that wale watu walikuwa na earn out of the 6 million people, tuliongeza loan limit, so instead of kuwapatia 5, so tulikuwa tunawapatia 700 or 800, which ni sawa. Then out of that you say that we added 6 million, but look at it, you don't even need to add 6 million, you add 300 and zingine ziende. So pesa inaweza kunywa maji. I think hii ni kitu rais angalie. Depending on this data that is being served here and the status of this fund, if there is something that was at the center of UDAs, is this Hursler fund. But as the way it goes, no. Unless could be things are bad and the president is employing diplomatic language and is also massaging the data just for damage control. There are two things into it. Either Ruto is not in it, he doesn't have an idea, or maybe has also been given the reality on ground, how things is rolling, but then they're deciding to pick which data to feed the population as a damage control. Because of course, there is no state that will come and tell you that this is not working. You don't expect that, honestly. You don't expect someone to come up and tell you that, look here, this fund is this and this, and it's not working. It's because of politics. And even the way messaging is done is because of politics. The MPs should actually commission an independent foreign forensic audit of the way that fund is being run, because that data is not adding up. Now, could be dead borrowers are drowning that project. I once analyzed here called Borrowers Bureau. We were actually creating Borrowers Bureau. That bureau is full with people who have borrowed the money, they're not repaying, and they're not showing signs of repaying anytime soon. And that project is most likely being plagued by defaulters. And if you ask me, out of the 14 million people, the loan limit haikuwa mingi, kila mtu alipewa shilingi 500. Ndio ziwadanganya hapa. Hiyo kila mtu alipewa shilingi 500. If a taxi driver who's been running taxi, Uber, for 2 years, alikuwa niambia Kevin, I can transact $1 million in a year, and I was given loan limit of 500, then who else? The people that are earning 500,000, the MPs are not going for Hustle Fund. Hustle Fund inaendea yule mtu hapa chini. And if they are going for it, and now wanapata 500, kila mtu alipewa 500. Then what are we saying? What we're saying here is the 6 million that are going to, their limits are going to be increased. Maybe they're the people that are repaying out of the 15 million, truth be told. But I also doubt, because how can it be that we have a repayment rate of close to 80%, but in terms of loan limit, we are only increasing it a kidogo? What is it? The loan limit is being suppressed. The number of people that are benefiting from loan limit increase is being suppressed. It's simply the fund might be plugged by dead borrowers. Borrowers who took that money, they never went to do business, and so they're not repaying it. And mostly, the president should keep his eye on the ball. The way, what is feeding the public, I'll be comfortable. It will be fine to feed the public with what the public wants to hear. But to still go back to the boardroom and sit and dress people down and ask them, now guys, tell me the truth. What's going on? How are we going to fix it? How this is going to, because otherwise, for how long are we going to tell the lie? We may tell the lie to the population because no one knows what goes into it. Before I did this analysis, I was speaking to a manager of one of, senior manager that runs one of these lending companies. This is a simu. And was telling me, Kevin, the defaulting rate inakonga juu sana kwa hii product. And he was telling me, Kevin, that defaulting rate, I can tell you, is above 60%. According to his assessment, he was telling me, if people are paying only 70, only 30% are paying. If that repayment is high, because it's not converted into business. If the tellers normally they put all the measures to make sure that they give money to the most suitable, someone who is going to do business. They've even opted to make sure that hata kama unalipa unafanya biashara, but they still experience a high default rate. It's not about the patriotism. With the political messaging going about it, and with all the noise of illegitimacy, people are taking that money and probably not paying. But then, audit it. That's my point. Ruto, audit that money. Otherwise, those guys could be lying to you and you'll be staring at a big scandal.